last piece I want to talk about is kind of modeling craft, and this is very important as you move into the last stage of the project. Uh, I'll show you what that means in a second here. So if I've got something like in vols here, and let me go ahead and join as many as I can together here. Yeah, so if I got something like in a vols, and I'm gonna go ahead and lock these up, and the procedure I've kind of given you guys is that you would take the form of the in this case a room. These are one of the kind of changing rooms here, and you would trace the outer edge and extrude it to a particular kind of height, and that's going to give you this piece. Then you've got to come in and you've got to put the door frame in there, right? And you could do something like extruding this. Okay, that's better. That is definitely better than this, right? Because you're not missing that like door frame. And actually, let's just go ahead and take this off to the side. So that's not bad. An issue that I see people doing, and I've seen people do it for a long time, is they're not following that procedure, and they're just simply doing like kind of boxes of things, like where those take, and they'll just keep extruding, boxes, kind of snapping to each other. Right, and you kind of and not really finishing it. Let's go ahead and move those. I also see other kinds of issues with, I think, people just simply let's see, unlock, maybe doing something like this. Okay. And then, well, actually, that's actually clearer than what I've seen. Let me take a look at this again here. Whoa, that's all right. See an awful lot of models that have this as well. So let me talk about the differences between all these different pieces here, and actually what's missing. Okay, so I see a lot of models like this, and the problem with it is, as you've probably figured out, right, is it doesn't have a top on it, it doesn't have a bottom, so it's not really a solid. So it's not going to render correctly. You're not going to be able to cut like really clean sections with it. It's not going to digitally fabricate like later on if you were going to do something like 3D print it. In short, it's just not really well crafted. If the model is completely, if you trace the lines and the model's completely closed, a simple fix for this is just to cap it, just CIP cap, and that will create the like a solid. You can tell if it is because it'll say closed polysurface, and that's as close to solid as you're going to get with that. I have seen some people do things kind of like this, I guess, where they're, I don't know, not exactly tracing things like correctly, and they'll extrude, or they've taken the CAD file that they drew, which might have some intersecting lines or some bits left over, and they've got things like this, right? And what happens is even if you cap this, like assuming everything is fully enclosed, you end up with this kind of problem, right? All these different little. First of all, not only is it more objects to like deal with, you have to select them or group them or whatever. It's also, when you do make 2D, it's going to produce lines and everything, and it's not going to look clean. You have to do a lot of you have to do like a lot of cleanup when you get into Illustrator, and you don't want that. It's actually the same, but then we go to this method here, which I'm saying is kind of my like preferred method, and I've got the door lintel. That is also going to produce lines for you. And a question that some students ask me, which I think is really great, is like, well, okay, what do you want? Like, what do you do? And the answer is that you basically have to redraw what's in here. And it's not like a lot of work, but it's definitely the difference between like something that's well crafted and not well crafted. And to understand like how this works, you have to kind of get back to the basic principles of 3D modeling, right? There's this idea that nothing is actually solid. Like you look at this box, you know, for all intents and purposes, you think it's a solid, but in reality, right, if you explode it, you delete a face of it, you find out that it has no thickness, it has no sort of like density. It's just six surfaces that are like oriented outwards that have the appearance of a solid. Okay, but as soon as you put that top on, you know, as long as all the surfaces are joined together, so it says 6 open surfaces up here, and if you join it together, the computer thinks of it as a closed surface, which is basically a solid. Okay, so you can take advantage of that by saying, okay, I want this to be this thing. Let's just go ahead and explode these. Okay, if you so if you go through and you erase both surfaces and you redraw them, like basically, you can get a perfect piece. I'll show you. So what I did was I deleted the faces that have kind of duplicates, and I can go to something like this, and I can say planar surface, and now that's clean, right? And the same thing, like if I go up to the top here, and I retrace this piece. Get the outside. Got that right. Yeah. Take these two pieces. And I can say planar surface. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and ghost this thing. Might be missing. Yeah, I'm just going to use my smart track here. Missing a line that I need. That's okay. We'll just do perpendicular. There we go. Actually, no, I don't need that. Let's go back. Sorry. I don't need it. I need. Let's do this. A little easy to get confused, I know. Okay, same deal. Planar. So let's see. And then I probably need to get rid of, yeah, this one and that one. And planar. Oops. Now, if you can just say close curve sometimes too. It finishes off for you if you're just missing a line. Whoa. Whoops. That wasn't what I wanted. Let's close again. Okay. Accident. Whoa. Okay. Okay, so let's do that again. Sorry. Planar surface. It's going to fix that. And then I'm missing this draw surface here as well. Actually, I can just draw it by making points. And if I go here, should be able to, yeah, close by surface. These are the curves I used, and just get rid of those. So let's go, I'll just go back and kind of drop this so you can get a fair comparison here. Let's delete this here. Okay. So if I look at these, right, and I apply, you know, make 2D to them, you can see the difference. I mean, that's what you get. You can see, okay, that looks like architecture, right? That looks like a solid kind of piece of tofu, right? This is pretty bad. You know, there's just too much geometry. It's going to be a lot of cleanup. This, you'll probably have to delete these, and delete those. And you can say, well, that's not that much work. And I'd still agree with you. But this is well crafted. This is what an object that, you know, like we have craft for models, craft for drawings, a digitally crafted artifact, you know, is clean, it's very precise, it's going to cut well in section, it's going to work on the 3D printer for you again. So this is what we're really aiming at. It's some work, but this is one of these principles of, you know, modeling, is that you kind of like make an artifact and then use the lines and surfaces from that to make another artifact that's a higher level of refinement. Okay, and that's what that looks like in practice. So I really want to stress that as something to aim for. I know it's going to take some skill. I mean, it took me a little while, and I'm like fairly good at this, but this is what we're kind of shooting for. Okay, if you want something that looks good and that functions well, and it's gonna help you produce other artifacts well, I think that's something that's really useful. The other bit that I want to talk about, let's go ahead and kind of show you this. We'll move this back here. Let's kill these guys here. Is the fact that this thing has some windows in it. If you look at that, and you know, we can sort of approach that in a couple of different ways. What we're talking about is, I mean, if we had the elevation, it'd be like a lot easier. But what you can do is, if you know what this, let's just say that that's the window. We'll make a couple of copies of them. Okay, and we have our volume just like this. Gonna eyeball this. It's not gonna be precise, but now you should be able to. Sometimes you can just boolean those things out. So we'll do boolean difference, and then we'll select these. Yeah, and it should just cut those out. That will only work if you have something that's a closed, solid poly surface. You gotta be careful about too. If these things are not like, you might want to stretch them a little bit to make sure that they penetrate like both sides, and you could just do like a scale 1D to do that. So just like without snapping on anything, you can just kind of click and then just move them, and that'll give you enough kind of fudge room that you don't accidentally not penetrate the volume. So you just go back to Boolean difference here. Oops, do that backwards here. Okay. Click these. Yeah, there we go. Still works, but that's going to be safer. The issue is that, you know, if you didn't do it like in a clean kind of way, like let's say that you just extruded something. And then you try to boolean these things. Actually, that actually worked better than I thought it would. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes all you get is just a puncture. So you might end up with something like this, right, which doesn't have the pieces. That somehow worked. I'm not sure why, but maybe that's a difference in this version of the software. But a lot of times if you just puncture it, it's not going to think of this as a true solid. You're still missing the kind of top and the bottom, which looks really funky, I think. I'm actually wondering if you're going to be able to cap this then. Yeah. Okay. So that's a problem. If you do that kind of boolean, it's very difficult for you to put a cap on the top and the bottom. You'd actually have to end up actually drawing a top and a bottom, and it just gets very messy. So all the more reason, right? Again, to practice good craft, because it's going to allow you to do your booleans correctly. Another thing is, if you have the elevation, like if you had this drawing, this is the cleanest way to do it. It's like if you have this and extrude it, these are going to pop out instantly. But then you're going to want to go ahead and marry that wall to what's going on here. And in fact, let's go ahead and attempt that. Let's show not tell, right? So if I had something like this, forgot to solid here. Oh, I'm extruding the whole. Oh, because they're out of plane with each other. That's why. These have to be planar. Just show the difference here. So if these are coplanar, then they pop out, and if they're not, then they don't, basically. So what you can do is something like this, and it depends on your building, but and I'm doing it this way to show it to you. You probably do it in context here, but if you take all this stuff. And actually, this isn't gonna. I'm gonna have to redraw this, but okay. And then I'm actually gonna go ahead and hide this. I guess I don't need to. Okay, anyway, I can I can go in and redraw this basically. Oops. That, okay. And then, okay, I keep changing my settings here. Okay, I can go in and I can redraw what I need. And yeah, it's kind of finicky looking, all this extra work, but that's what craft is. It makes a difference. Okay, so now if I've got these curves, I can make a planar surface. Oops. I hate doing it. Ah. It's always a problem. Where am I at here? That pesky plan command is terrible. Okay. Let's just look at this thing. Okay. Back to it. Okay. Planar surface. There. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and I join these together, closed poly surface. It's clean. And that, I'm showing you this because it's the same principle of what happens when you use a boolean, but sometimes booleans like don't work. I want to be really clear about this. Like, about half of the time they work really well. Booleans work really especially well when your geometry is like simple. But the more you use them, or the more complex your design gets, the harder it gets. If you use the surface technique, if you're always drawing things, you know, with the edges, you're drawing the exact surfaces you want, and it's watertight, and you join them together, you will have exactly what you need. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so just, you know, as a cautionary tale, as like an introduction, right? I just want you guys to see. Look at that; it's all one object too. How cool is that? You just delete these curves. So that's what good digital craft looks like. That's how to get these lintels or these kind of door frames across. My Dropbox just keeps hitting here. Okay, and how to cut windows and things. So that ought to help you make really well-crafted models from here on out. All right, good luck.